everybody, Nate here, and it's safe to say that our economy ain't doing so hot in 2022. We currently have record high inflation. The stock market has lost all of its gains that it's gathered over the last 2 years, and other markets like cryptocurrency and commodities and the housing market are starting to follow suit. Not only that, but jobless claims recently went up, and now Goldman Sachs and Bloomberg and a ton of other businesses, CEOs, and Americans are believing that we could see a recession in 2022 or in 2023. Right now, it is more important than ever that you are financially educated and that you know exactly what to do with your money, or else you could potentially lose it sometime soon. Nobody wants to see a recession. It could mean that we see a lot of unemployment. It could mean that we see a lot of businesses eventually go under. None of that is a good thing for our economy. But there is one small silver lining to a recession if we were to see one. Recession means that there is an opportunity for you to grow your wealth, and there's an opportunity for you to start building your finances like never before. But a recession does not mean that you have to lose it all. However, if you are not in the right financial place right now and you don't have a good base to start from, you're not going to be able to go out and capitalize on all of those opportunities. You have to make sure that you have a strong financial base in 2022, and the only way to ensure that is that you have a strong savings. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why you need to save money in 2022 and the fastest ways that you can save $3,000 right now. All right, so saving is very important for your whole entire financial journey. You have to have a strong savings account because, like I said, you're not going to be able to capitalize on opportunities like investing and growing your wealth if you don't have a savings account. Case in point, if you don't have something saved in the bank right now, well, then you are potentially one financial disaster away from losing it all. And it's more important than ever that you have a strong savings because we don't really know what's coming next for our economy. Like I said before, we could see unemployment in 2022 or in 2023. We could start to see businesses disappear. We could start to see wages get cut because a lot of companies in our economy just simply cannot produce the amount of money that they did in 2020. So in a nutshell, you have to be prepared, but this is more important than just 2022. Having a strong savings account can last you for a very long time, even in the best of times. Right now, we could potentially face a recession, and that's bad, but if we get out of this recession, if we don't see one, well, then you're still gonna wanna have a strong savings account. A savings account is basically your financial buffer between you and disaster. Think about it this way. If you have an emergency in your life, like your car breaks down, or you have to fix your roof, or your AC suddenly shuts off in 95-degree Michigan weather, well, then what are you going to do? Are you going to just ignore it and not fix it, or are you going to try and fix it? Fact of the matter is, most people would rather try to fix it, and if you don't have the money saved up in order to do that, well, then you're gonna have to take out a loan, or you're gonna have to go off of your credit cards. All that does is put you in even more debt, which if it only happens once in your lifetime and you can guarantee that, well, then it's not such a big deal. But if this happens 6 months from now, you have to fix your car again, or you have other problems, something happens that you need money for, well, now you're putting debt on top of debt. And this is how the majority of Americans start to get behind financially. They don't save any money, and when push comes to shove, they just put it all on their credit card. That creates a debt cycle that eventually you just cannot get out of. So you need to have something saved in 2022. Now, my personal recommendation is around $3,000. In the past, people have said save $1,000 or save $2,000, but we live in high inflationary times, meaning that the value of your money is going down. It takes a whole lot more money in order to buy all of the same things, so $2,000 in 2022 might not be able to cut it like it did 2, 3, or 5 years ago. You need to now have a lot more money saved, so if you don't have anything saved, you better get to it. And of course, you need to save for the things that you want in life. If something comes up that you can't afford, well, it's not okay to put that on credit because, again, that's going to create a debt snowball, except for now you're doing it to yourself and it wasn't an emergency that you couldn't avoid. You now have all of this debt, and if something does happen in your life, well, now you have a huge problem because all of that debt has to still be paid off on top of this new financial burden. That's a slippery slope, and it can make a lot of people unhappy and always wondering, well, why do I never have enough money? Well, the problem is there's too much debt. Now, I do want to caution you here because you want to save a good amount of money, like I said, around $3,000 to start with, but you don't want to save every single penny that you have. At some point, you need to stop saving. Saving your money is good for the things that you want and for an emergency, but you want to start putting your money to work through investing at some point. The reason being is because of the I word that I mentioned before, inflation. Inflation eats away at the value of our money over time. So if you save more than $3,000, if you save $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, well, that's going to be a problem because every single year that money is slowly getting eaten away. It's not worth as much anymore. So whatever you plan to use it for, well, you're going to need a whole lot more. And the only way to do that is to save more. But that's kind of a rotating problem because the more you save, the more you lose. Once you save $3,000, that's your initial baseline. That is everything that you need to cover the most common of life's emergencies. Like I said, your car breaks down or you have to fix your AC. After that though, you're going to want to think about a long-term savings fund. This could be anywhere from 3 months to an entire year of all of your expenses saved up. Take a look at all of your monthly expenses, add all of them up, and that's how much you need multiplied by how many months you want to protect yourself by. But again, after you've got your long-term and your short-term savings fund for emergencies, that's it. You do not need to save any more money. You might have to adjust this every single year and save just a little bit more because inflation continues to go up and your savings is getting eaten. Maybe you had to spend some of that savings on an emergency or something that you wanted, but after you've replenished it, don't save any more. You now need to take all of your money and start investing it. And once you have a solid financial base and you can protect yourself, well, then now all of your extra income can start to work for you. It can actually start to grow your wealth and you can start actually making more money. And that's how you can actually capitalize on opportunities if we do see a recession. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I have a lot of debts right now. I have dependents. How exactly am I going to save this $3,000? A recession could be around the corner. Well, here are the 3 easiest and fastest ways for you to start saving right now. The first is to try to cut as many things out of your expenses as possible. Businesses do this all the time when they're trying to cut money. They go and look at their balance sheet and they see where exactly are we overspending. You need to do the exact same thing in your budget and in your own finances. Take a look at where all of your money is going to. Are you overspending on certain things? Are there certain areas that you could cut out? I find that the simplest thing to do is a lot of our streaming services like Netflix and Hulu. If you don't have anything saved, well, your priority is to get that savings account to 3K as fast as possible. So even if you haven't seen the new season of Stranger Things, you're gonna have to cancel that Netflix account. The other thing to do, and something that I am super guilty of, is to look at where your money is going in food. Many Americans spend most of their paychecks in food and on other debts. So if you're spending a lot on takeout and you could be cooking a lot more at home, well, then you should probably allocate more money to groceries and less on takeout. Fast food and other services like that just eat your paycheck. And once again, if you can't afford these things and they work within your budget, then treat yourself every once in a while. But if you don't have that 3K savings fund yet, well, then I advise that you cut that out immediately. And there are other ways to cut your expenses down. Are you spending too much on Amazon? Where else is your money going? So you gotta do what you gotta do when you're talking about cutting your expenses. Doing that alone could save you $30, $40, $50 every single week or every single month. And all of that money adds up. Once you've saved up 3K, you can eventually bring that money back into your circulation. But until then, you gotta start cutting your expenses. The second thing that you can do to save $3,000 as fast as possible is to try to increase your income. So it's much easier to cut your expenses and much harder to increase your income, but that's something that you can do. If you cannot possibly stand giving up Stranger Things for the next few months, well, then you're gonna have to increase your income. So now you can start saving more while having all of the luxuries that you wanted before. Like I said, this is really difficult and there are only a few different ways that you can increase your income in 2022. Obviously, you can go to your employer and ask for a raise. Now, this is going to be very difficult and very political, and they might not be able to give you as big of a raise as you might need. And you're relying on another source in order to raise your income, so that can be very difficult. But the other thing that a lot of Americans are turning to are side gigs. Driving for DoorDash or for Uber are ways that a lot of Americans are taking their free time and trying to flip it into some extra cash. Maybe you sell something on Etsy or you create a Shopify store with a hidden talent that you might have. The point here is that you're going out of your way to try to do more things to bring value. That way you can get a whole lot more money. You might might be able to increase your income only by a little bit, but that little bit is going to help you save as fast as possible. And hey, you might even find out that you like a lot of these side gigs, so you might even continue to do them and turn them into your full-time career. And the third and final way that you can try to save $3,000 as fast as possible is to try to sell as much as you can. Look around your house right now. Look in your garage, look in your attic. There are probably a ton of things that you don't need that you haven't looked at in years. Some things, though, might be very valuable to someone else, and you might be able to make a profit from them. Now, this is not something that you can continue to do forever. Obviously, once you've sold something, then it's gone. But if we're talking about trying to save as fast as possible for right now, then this is a really good way to do that. I know for me that there's a lot of things kind of lying around my house that I could sell, and if I was to do this, I could bring up my savings account to $3,000 easily. Now, I'm not saying that you need to sell every single thing in your house. What I'm saying is that if there's something that you don't want anymore and that thing is just gathering dust, well, then what good is it to you right now? Chances are you might end up having to sell that thing anyway if you're further in debt or you run into a financial emergency. You might need cash down the road, so why not sell it right now to prep your savings account so that you don't have to sell more things in the future. And finally, here's a bonus tip. So if you have a lot of money that you're spending on debt like credit cards or other loans, you might be able to save a whole lot faster by trying to pay those things off as quickly as possible. If you raise your income and cut your expenses, well, then you might not be able to save a lot right now, but you might be able to pay down your debt even faster, which frees up a lot more of your income to put towards saving. Not only that, but once you hit the $3,000 mark and you have a lot less debt, now you can invest more. So your saving fund is completely prepped and you're starting to grow your wealth even faster. But now I want to hear from you. Are there any saving tips that I missed in this video? If so, let me know in the comments below. But that is it for today's business and financial news breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to stay up to date with all the top business and financial news from around the country, our team puts together a free daily newsletter and you can subscribe to it by clicking the link in this corner right here. And if you want to stay up to date with me and everything else happening in the business and financial world, I'm putting out updates 7 days a week over here on this channel, and I've actually got another one ready for you right here, so be sure to check that out before you go. That is it for me, everybody. Be kind out there, and I'll see you all in the next one.